Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Craig Bolin, and before I was a graduate student at George Mason University studying public policy, I spent 8 years in the United States Army as an infantryman. I completed 3 combat tours to Iraq, and I am 100% service-connected disabled as a result of that service. I tell you that not for sympathy, but because this proposal is not abstract to me. I have sat in VA waiting rooms. I have navigated referrals, community providers, and the bureaucratic gaps in between. I know firsthand what happens when the system fails veterans who have already given everything. Today, I am presenting the Veterans Community Care Coordination Act, or VCCA, a legislative proposal to fix systemic coordination failures in the Veterans Community Care Program. The VA Mission Act of 2018 created the Veterans Community Care Program, known as the VCCP, to give veterans access to private sector care when VA cannot provide timely or geographically accessible services. In theory, it was a major step forward. In practice, the program has grown faster than the infrastructure designed to manage it, and that gap is harming veterans. The scale of this program is significant. The VCCP has grown from serving 1.1 million veterans in 2014 to 2.8 million in 2023, a 155% increase in 2004, then $34 billion annually, and represents 35 to 40% of the entire VHA medical care budget. That kind of growth demands a coordination infrastructure that can keep pace. Right now, it does not have one. The core problem is that VCCP growth has outpaced coordination capacity. Records transfers are inconsistent, wait time problems continue to affect access and continuity of care, and veterans are left navigating fragmented care between VA facilities and community providers, often with no one managing that handoff on their behalf. Let me walk you through the 3 core problem areas. The first is records coordination. According to the VA Office of Inspector General, 92% of VA facility leaders report delays receiving clinical records back from community providers. The VA still relies heavily on fax machines, and document backlogs date back to 2019. This is not a minor inconvenience. 73% of those same facility leaders say those documentation delays have directly harmed patient outcomes. The DAV has tied these failures to clinical safety risk in Senate testimony. We are talking about veterans missing follow-up care, receiving duplicate procedures, or falling through the cracks entirely. Second, community care wait times are not improving. Average primary care waits are 26 days, specialty care averages 38 days, and there is no enforceable standard after a referral is authorized. Once a veteran is referred out to a community provider, the clock effectively stops. Billing errors compound those delays further, and coordination failures drive repeat appointments. Veterans end up stuck in administrative limbo. Third, billing errors create cascading problems. They increase administrative burden on VA staff, delay payments to providers, create financial uncertainty for veterans, and strain the VCCP budget in ways that divert resources away from care. The system is leaking money and veteran trust simultaneously. So why is this the moment to act? 4 forces have converged. In January 2025, the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee held a hearing specifically on access barriers in the VCCP. A GAO review found that of 27 recommendations made since 2018, only 9 have been fully implemented. The DAV and other VSOs are actively calling for enforceable standards. And rising costs combined with fiscal scrutiny demand that we get more out of every dollar spent on community care. The political landscape is workable. The DAV, VFW, and American Legion are supportive. The Senate and House Veterans Affairs Committees are engaged. Groups like Americans for Prosperity and Concerned Veterans for America are persuadable on accountability grounds. The TPAs, OptumServe, and TriWest will push back, and small rural providers have legitimate concerns about compliance capacity, which we address directly in the proposal. I evaluated 3 reform pathways. Pure administrative reform through TPA contract conditions can move faster, but it is not durable and can be reversed with a change in administration. Full privatization and voucher expansion risks higher costs without solving the coordination problem. The VCCA takes the most durable path, a statutory fix that locks enforceable standards into law. The VCCA has 4 core provisions. First, a 5 business day records return requirement for community providers. Second, mandatory veteran-specific training covering military culture, PTSD, and toxic exposure. Third, public quarterly dashboards reporting TPA compliance, wait times, and billing errors so veterans and Congress can see exactly how contractors are performing. Fourth, a payment withholding enforcement mechanism modeled on South Dakota v. Dole, giving the VA real teeth to enforce these standards. The legal foundation is solid. Mission Act Sections 104 and 132 grant the VA Secretary explicit authority to set coordination standards and require record sharing. South Dakota versus Dole validates the spending power enforcement mechanism. And critically, following Loper-Bright in 2024, which ended Chevron deference, the VCCA spells out timelines and standards directly in statute rather than delegating them to agency interpretation. That statutory specificity is what makes this proposal durable under the current legal environment. Implementation runs in 3 phases. Within 90 days of enactment, the Office of External Networks issues guidance on records return requirements and training standards. Within 180 days, the Office of Information and Technology launches the Public Performance Dashboard. At month 12, full contract enforcement goes live with the payment withholding mechanism active. The year 1 budget totals approximately $28 million, covering records return enforcement at $2.5 million, payment system infrastructure at $1.5 million, provider training at $3 million, the dashboard build at $6 million, plus $1.2 million annually, and a one-time $15 million technical assistance fund to help small and rural providers meet EHR requirements. These are targeted, finite investments, not an open-ended spending commitment. We measure success concretely. Records transfer compliance goes from roughly 70% at baseline to 90% by year 3. Wait times hit the 30-day primary and 20-day specialty benchmarks by year 2. Billing errors drop 25% by year 2. Provider training certification reaches 60% in year 1 and 90% by year 3. We have built mitigations into the design. The $15 million fund addresses EHR interoperability for small providers. A 30-day administrative review cap prevents TPAs from gaming the appeals process. Randomized OIG audits and whistleblower protections guard data integrity, and regional provider to veteran ratio tracking prevents network attrition from creating care gaps. On the legislative path, the VCCA would be introduced in the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee with a companion House bill, then attached to an NDAA or Veterans Omnibus. Vehicle for passage, the bipartisan framing centers on accountability and coordination, not on expanding or restricting access. The Mission Act passed 92-5% in the Senate and 347-70 in the House. That coalition can be rebuilt. The VCCP made a promise to veterans that if VA could not get you care, the private sector would. The VCCA does not change that promise. It makes the system keep it. We are fixing the coordination infrastructure, adding enforceable accountability, and doing it without restructuring the VA or restricting veteran choice. This is a targeted, legally grounded, administratively workable solution. Thank you for your time and attention. I'm happy to take any questions.